Have you ever been to a car show or a racetrack to go and watch a race and enjoyed how someone can make their car their own, or how fast they can make a normal car that we would see every day on the streets, how fast they can actually make them go at a racetrack? This entire idea is called vehicle modification and engine tuning, and also vehicle tuning. There is an ongoing legislative battle currently regarding this specific topic. The bill that is fighting for motors to keep motorsports and racing alive is called the RPM Act, or Recognizing the Protection of Motorsports Act of 2021. Since this specific battle and this topic could potentially change the car market, the parts market, the vehicles we can buy, the vehicles we can modify, just vehicle modification in general. This is all something we should inform ourselves on so we can make a decision, because this could be something we are voting on in the future. I want to let my listeners know the uses specifically for tuning the engine and the arguments for and against vehicle modification. Not only for racing use, but also everyday use. Racing and motorsports have been an American pastime for 45 plus years. Many jobs have been made surrounding motorsports in general and racing. However, there is an issue regarding the environment, and that is not something we can take lightly. It's all something we have to live with regardless of our hobbies or whatnot. So that is something we do have to take into consideration, so we can make a more educated decision into choosing which side to go with. My research comes from a web article called Recognizing the Protection of Motorsports Act from SEMA, which is the Specialty Equipment Market Association for Motor Vehicles, and also 3 sources from the Opposing Viewpoints database. Need a Tune-Up, Become a Hacker by Sean Captain, Electric and Hybrid Electric Vehicles from Gale Opposing Viewpoints, and Tune-Ups, A Key to Less Pollution, Tune-Ups, A Key to Less Pollution by the EPA, by Age, a newspaper in Australia. I will be discussing 3 main points. I will give a brief layman's description of engine tuning and vehicle modification. I will bring forth both the arguments for and against vehicle modification and tuning. Let us define what engine tuning is and what it can do. According to HKS, is a well-known Japanese aftermarket part distributor and tuning company, considers tuning as improving the overall performance in response to the user's needs. Now, this could mean changing to higher flow parts to get better efficiency and power out of your motor, but you can also change it to get better fuel economy, or just run smoother, or even protect the life of your motor. Now that we understand at a basic level what engine tuning is, we can go into the arguments for tuning and modifying a vehicle. There was a study in Australia in regards to their specific Air Care Victoria campaign. It showed that with tuning, you could greatly reduce emissions and increase fuel economy. A quote by The Age is, the federal report indicated oxides of nitrogen emissions could be cut by 9%, hydrocarbon emissions by 16%, and carbon monoxide by 25%, without unnecessary costs to motorists. Car tuning also led to fuel savings of about 3% and was believed to contribute to a car's longevity. In 2015, And that was stated by the EPA, actually. In 2015, the EPA started to go back on that word from that study in Australia, and passed the Clean Air Act here in the US, attempting to halt the manufacturing of parts and conversion of previously made road vehicles into off-highway race car. The Clean Air Act does not allow motor vehicles designed for street use, including a car, truck, or motorcycle, to be converted into a race car. And that is from SEMA. The agency still maintains the practice of modifying the emission system of a motor vehicle for the purpose of converting it for racing is illegal. Now, manufacturing, selling, and installing race parts for the converted vehicle would also be a violation. The EPA has also announced that enforcement against high-performance parts, including superchargers, tuners, and exhaust systems, is a top priority. So they are greatly focused on the aftermarket parts that people put on to make their cars faster, but they're also not looking into the idea of what actually goes into tuning a vehicle in the computer to be able to change and get all the emissions correct, actually. Now, we do have to look into modifying exhausts. There is a specific item in the exhaust called the catalytic converter that will reduce emissions. People feel that if the vehicle is not registered for on-road use anymore, what does it matter what they do to it? Others also feel that there is no effect if the product has no effect on the emissions, or the aftermarket part has no effect on the emissions that they are adding. Why should they not be able to buy that part and fix a broken part that broke on their vehicle? Now that we have kind of talked into the thought process and what tuning is, and the thought process of why people want to be able to tune their vehicles, let's go into the standpoint for against tuning and modifying their vehicle. Some people have a great understanding that internal combustion engines, and it's actually well known that internal combustion engines are inherently not great for the environment. They do produce a lot of gases that harm the environment. This is just an inherent side effect of using a combustion engine. The used up fuel just doesn't disappear anywhere. Consumers choose these vehicles to reduce climate change in regards to hybrid vehicles. Hybrid and electric vehicles have significantly lower carbon emissions compared to conventional cars and trucks. Many consumers who buy these vehicles want to save money on just buying petroleum fuel or gas in general. That is coming from the Gale opposing viewpoints. It's also understood that tuned vehicles or a tuned exhaust is louder than these hybrid or electric vehicles. And usually a tuned exhaust has the emissions compliance part removed, being that catalytic converter. Now, this is a very common practice with people with race cars because it does cause a restriction. Now, we don't fully have to remove that. They do make high flow catalytic converters that still do the same job as the normal catalytic converter. It's just there's more space, so it's not as restricted through that part. So consumers of EV and HEVs, meaning hybrid electric vehicles, are also drawn to those specific vehicles because of the reduced noise compared of that of gas-powered vehicles. So they just are quieter. So noise pollution is a very large thing. Just pollution in general is a very large thing, which is completely understandable in this topic. These are arguments that people are using for and against vehicle tuning and modification. People want to be able to do what they wish with the item that they have purchased, meaning their vehicle. And if it is not registered for on-road driving and only racetrack driving, what does it matter what they do to the vehicle? And on the other side, emissions and noise pollution is a very large proponent for arguing against it. Race cars can be loud, normal cars can be loud just on the road. They do produce a mass amount of pollution. LA in general just has a high population of people, so a high population of vehicles is going to be a higher population of pollution. The RPM Act is seeking to keep vehicle tuning and modification alive, specifically for racing and motorsport. But with a rise in popularity with companies like Tesla and other electric vehicle companies and just general car companies making the switch to electric vehicles, there is a huge push to remove the combustion engine from vehicles.